The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
Welcome to Garden Connections. I'm your host, Stephanie Passenkamp. On today's show, we welcome you out to Silver Bee Farm, our little slice of paradise near Albert Lea, Minnesota. We're going to be talking about low tunnels and how you can help some of those spring plants get a good start. We'll also be visiting with Jennifer Lomack, who loves mint, and she's going to show us all the different varieties of mint that you can grow, how to care for them, and what you can do with the leaves once you have them. And of course, Chef Stephen Larson gives us another wonderful recipe. I hope you'll stay with us for Garden Connections. Welcome to Silver Bee Farm. This is our own little slice of heaven out here in the country, just southwest of Albert Lea. And our garden is really behind, just like many people this summer, and we're going to talk a little bit later about one way that you can help some of those plants catch up. But I did want to share with you the peonies that we have growing here. These are the same peonies that we divided last season. I think we got about a dozen new starts out of that one giant root, and they all made it this winter, so we're really excited to see that. Some of them even have great buds coming, and I can't wait for the flowers to open up. But let's get down to our main business and let's talk a little bit about row covers. Let's take a look. Well, there are lots of different kinds of row covers, and as we explored last year, there are some lightweight cloths that you can put over your rows to not only provide frost protection but also provide bug protection. Well, this year in many parts of our region there has been a ton of rain, which is great. We're really glad the drought is over, but it also has slowed down many of the gardens in the spring, and ours is no exception. So we've had a lot of rain, we've had a lot of cool weather, and some of our plants are just really having a tough time getting going. And sometimes when you direct seed plants, if you don't help give them an extra boost, that cold, wet soil can cause your seeds to actually rot in place rather than sprout. So as always, try to get a good seed source, but even in cold, wet weather, that can happen even with good seed. So when we were talking about what we could do to help our garden get going this spring and have a good start, even though it's been a later planting than usual, I turned to a trick that I used a few years ago for season extension. And this is a type of a row cover called a low tunnel. And what it is it's basically a sheet of plastic that we're going to put over plants that really like a little bit warmer weather. They need that to get going, they need that to get started. What we planted here in a couple of rows here marked by the flags are some melons. We put in cantaloupe here, and we planted them about a week ago. There's really not much happening, so I'm getting a little concerned about what's going on in there. And again, we've had more rain this week and it's been a little cool. So we're going to put a low tunnel over this row and the one right next to it to try to bring in a little more heat, hold that heat longer, and also to protect this section of dirt from any more rain that might occur in the coming days. Now, this is not something that will stay on all season long, but it's designed to just help give a little extra heat and a little protection from the water so that our seeds have the best chance of sprouting as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some common supplies that you'll find in your hardware store, your local home building supply store, and it's very simple to make. So we're going to use re-rod. You can use really any thin diameter. You could use wood if you can find a really thin piece of wood. I like re-rod because it's fairly easy to get a hold of and it's fairly strong. And so we're going to pound these into the ground in intervals, kind of at an angle. So once we have stakes pounded in on each side, then we're going to take just, again, another common item that you can find in your hardware store or any plumbing supply. It's plumbing tubing. It's very flexible and it's got a fairly small diameter to it, and it fits just perfectly over the end of the re-rod. And what this does is this protects your plastic. Your re-rod obviously would poke holes in your plastic if you just strung the plastic straight over that. So this provides kind of just a nice arch for that plastic to lay on. So we're going to put in a few more stakes here on the side. And the dirt is nice and soft, so it doesn't take much to get them in. And you don't have to go super deep either. About like so. And I know it's a challenge to see here in all this dark dirt, but the row of melons is right here. So we're about a foot back from the actual planting site. Well, I'm going to keep going with this and fill in the rest of the re-rod, put the pipes over the top, then we'll string some plastic. But why don't we catch up with Jennifer Lomack, who's going to tell us all about mint. We're here today with Jennifer Lomack from 24 Karat Gardens, and she is going to be telling us all about mint. Jennifer, welcome to Garden Connections.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. You have so many different varieties. That's the first thing that struck me when you came in, is there are so many different varieties of mint. But what I want to find out first is what got you interested in mint? It's kind of an unusual plant.
Well, first of all, the scents. There's so many different scents. And then a friend of mine, of course, who is a gardener, they shared with me.
Gardeners love to share, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And so you got your first plant from a friend.
Right.
What kind was it?
It was regular mint.
Okay, and regular mint, is that spearmint, or they just call it plain mint?
Mint, just plain mint.
Just plain mint. Mm-hmm. All right, because you know all those gum flavors.
Yes.
Spearmint.
Yeah.
Wonder what real mint is like. And so you brought several examples with today. Is mint a tough, sometimes herbs have a reputation for being difficult to grow, difficult to start, hard to keep alive. Where does mint fall in that range? Is it an easy green thumb plant, or do you really have to have a good green thumb to get mint to prosper?
Well, it's fairly easy. It's a pretty hardy plant. You stick it in the ground, and there are a few things you need to, well, really only a few things you need to know about it. It's easy to grow. Stick it in the ground, let it go. If you do not contain it either with a bottomless bucket and plant the roots in that, or with deep edging, it will spread. And unless you want it taken over, it will take over an area if you don't contain it.
So it's a fairly aggressive plant in terms of, is that a reseeding process? Does it expand over the course of a life cycle, or does it spread by roots? How does it
It does spread by roots.
Okay.
The roots go under the ground. They are fairly shallow. They're called stolons.
Okay.
I don't know why, but they travel under the ground, and then they send up new shoots.
Okay, so that barrier, like you say, a bottomless pot, because you want it to drain and you want those roots to be able to pull nutrients up. How deep should that pot be so it stops, so that prevents them from going sideways?
I would say probably at least that deep, maybe like a bucket.
A bucket, okay.
Yeah, that's what they said. It's a bottomless bucket. I mean, I'm sure if you have an old one laying at home, you can just cut out the bottom and stick that in the ground, and then put your dirt in, and then put your plants in so that they don't spread.
All right. Will they choke out other plants, or is it okay if they invade their way into other spaces?
Yeah, I think that depends on the plant. I have some at my old location that did not choke out anything, but it wasn't fairly thick. Maybe it was where I planted it.
And that brings up another good question. Where? Does mint need full sun, out in the open? Can you grow mint in the shade?
Well, it's in all the different, because of the different types, I've done a little bit of reading up on it, and they say that you should plant it in full sun for the morning, but so that it gets afternoon shade.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. So maybe it doesn't care for the dew. It wants to get up and dry off. And is it susceptible to any kind of molds or things, have you found?
Well, the only thing that in all the reading, and I haven't actually seen any problems with my mints in my locations,
Yay.
Thank goodness. But there's rust can be a problem.
Okay.
And so if you do find that, you should cut it off and do not put it in the compost, because then the spores can spread.
You don't want to take your compost and put that back in the garden.
Right, exactly.
All right, sounds good. Well, tell us a little bit about the couple of varieties that you have here on the table, and we're going to look at those in the back in a little bit too. But this one is a favorite.
Yes, this is my favorite.
Tell folks why.
It is chocolate mint, and
chocolate mint.
Think of Andy's or the peppermint patties.
Oh, the York peppermint patties?
York peppermint patties, yes. It smells like chocolate mint. It smells just like the peppermint patties.
And you have to just kind of, you don't squish it, but you can just kind of
just
ruffle
rub
the leaves.
Yeah.
And it does. It smells exactly like, or like one of those chocolate dinner mints that you get after you've eaten out.
There's many uses for it. I mean, you can use it as a tea, fresh or dried. I've used it both ways for that.
Chocolate tea. That sounds
I know.
great.
It's just
So when
it
you
smells
make
heavenly.
tea with mint, you just steep the leaves. Do you have to cut them first?
You can, kind of ruffle them a little bit to release the oils, because it's the oils in the plant that give it the flavor.
Give it the flavor and
the
scent.
scent.
And then you just pour hot water over. How long would you let it steep?
That depends on how strong you like your tea. A couple minutes. It depends on
So it doesn't take
your
long.
person.
It's not like it has to sit overnight.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Just like regular tea. Great. Oh, chocolate mint. That smells beautiful.
Yeah.
And what do we have here?
That one is spearmint. It is a little lighter than the regular mint. It's more of a subtle flavor.
Yep.
It's used in a lot of dessert dishes.
Oh, okay.
And again, you can do tea. And apparently they use it to flavor spearmint gum. Now, I don't know if that's actually the oils that they use from the plant, or if it's something else.
But maybe it's inspiration.
It was inspiration, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Well, let's go ahead, and you brought one that actually we're going to pot up, since potting is a way to keep mint in place. Put on my new gloves of the season. So you have a pineapple mint.
Yep.
All right. And this container is not all that big. What Jennifer's done is put a little good, rich dirt in the bottom of the pot. So apparently it doesn't need a huge amount of growing room for the season.
No. So
and where do you get your mint from? Can you just go and pick it up at most garden stores?
Most garden centers have it. I got these. It's a couple different locations, so you have to go look.
Yep. Have you ever started mint from seed?
I have not. What I have read from that is there is sketchy germination rates with the seeds.
Okay. So maybe it's tough to start as some of those others.
Mostly they are, like my friend gave some to me, or you take a cutting and then you can put it in water and
cutting.
Sorry.
Now we were looking at this chocolate one before, and
Yes.
see there's a little piece here that's got actually a little bend to
You
it.
can take it off there.
But we're just going to snap that off. And so if you look at this, you were showing me, it has little, almost like roots coming out of the side. So if you took this and suspended it in a glass of water, gave it a week, 10 days, it should be sprouting some new roots in this section. It still has, you can see its leaves up here on the top.
Yep.
And then once it's got a good number of roots going, then you can go ahead
put it in the dirt.
and pot it in the dirt. So another way to share
cuttings, yes.
mint is through cutting. So let's pot this one up.
All
Anything
right.
special that you need to do?
No.
Any special amendments to the soil that?
No, they like a good rich soil. I mean, it doesn't need to be acidic or alkaline. It's just a standard soil.
Middle of the road
potting
pH.
mix.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds
So
good.
then when you take them out, when you get them in the little pots, sometimes there's roots on the bottom. And if you do find that, you want to kind of loosen up the dirt a little bit, maybe pull it apart on the bottom a bit, so that it sends a signal for the roots to spread a little bit.
So generate a little movement there.
So you just put it up put it in the dirt, make sure the roots are kind of spread on the bottom, and then make sure that there's good contact with the soil.
Okay, fill in on the edges here a
fill
little
around
bit with
the
some
edges.
extra dirt.
Yep.
Water well, and really
Yep.
that's all there is to it.
Yep, they like a moist soil, but they don't like to sit in water.
Okay, so make sure the pot is well drained.
Correct.
So with that, can you have mint in the house?
You can.
Okay, so
It
just make
smells
sure.
wonderful.
I'll bet it does. I'll bet it does. Put it in your bathroom.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
as
that
long
would
as you
be
have a
awesome.
window.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is pineapple mint.
It is.
Yep, it does. Not a real strong flavor, but definitely you can smell that pineapple.
This one I like to make. It's not lemonade, but I slice up some lemons, put it in a pitcher with some water, some ice, and then throw in a few sprigs of the pineapple mint and set it in the fridge until it's cold. And it's very refreshing. It quenches your thirst.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And not sugary at all. If you're
No,
not
I
mixing
don't
any
put
sugar in
sugar in
there,
mine,
it's
but-
just kind of lemon water with pineapple
Right.
mint.
Yep.
Great. Well, you brought some others here that
Yep.
we're going to take a look at, because I am amazed at the variety of mints that are out there. So tell us what we've got here.
Well, on this end we have ginger mint. It is a little spicier. In the middle we have apple mint.
Apple, okay.
Yep, that one is often used in dessert dishes, sauces, more for over fruit or things. And then this one is a variegated mint, which is, it's the regular mint, but it's a variegated leaf.
So it's pretty.
Yeah, it is pretty, and it has a really strong smell. A lot of Greek dishes, Thai dishes. Different mints are good with lamb. So,
That's right.
Yep.
Yep, they always
mint
do
sauce
mint
with
jelly.
lamb and mint jelly. Yep.
Sounds great. You can also use mint in non-food recipes. You were telling me that you can make potpourri out of them
Yes.
if you want. So mint is a very versatile plant.
It is. Even when they're dried, if you put them in a sachet, years ago they would make sachets to put in the drawers. And oftentimes they did put mint in them because it has been said that mint will keep the little mice away.
Oh, so it's a repellent to rodents. A natural one,
Yes.
which is great.
Excellent.
And it smells good besides.
Yes.
So Jennifer, you have all these different kinds of mint. Is this just a hobby, or do you share your mint with others? I mean, when you have this much, I mean, really, there are only so many things you can make with it for your own house.
True. I do share with friends, of course, and then I also am at the farmers market in Austin on Mondays and Thursdays, 4 to 7, and Saturday morning.
And you've got a new location there.
Yes, we do.
How exciting.
It is very exciting.
That's great. Great. So if you are interested in mint, you can check it out at the farmers market. Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your passion about mint with our viewers today. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Stay tuned for more Garden Connections. Well, we've gotten all of our posts in, our rerod in. We've got them all arched with our flexible pipe. Now we're going to unroll the plastic and put that over. And in order to do that, that's kind of a two-person job. I have my #1 helper here, Catherine, who is my daughter, and she helps a ton in the garden every year. And so she's going to help me roll this plastic out. We're just going to pull it over the top and anchor it with our infamous rocks. Tight there just a second. Okay, go this way. Pull. There we go. Pull a little harder. There we go, a little bit more. Okay. We'll just have these rocks hold them in place for now until we straighten it out, and then we'll secure it more with dirt. While we finish lining this up and getting it anchored with the rocks, let's check out what Chef Stephen Larson has cooked up for us today.
Hi, I'm Chef Stephen Larson. Welcome to my kitchen at Quarter Quarter Restaurant in Harmony, Minnesota. The next recipe we're going to do uses fresh strawberries, and we're going to do those in sort of a fun French style way where we put them over the top of cream cheese stuffed crepes. So the first thing we need to do is get our strawberries ready. So I've got a few beautiful strawberries here that we will just cut the core out of because we don't want any of that greenery in our food. Get those done. And then we can cut that into quarters or slices, whatever you want to do. Either works well. Right, so now that we've got these cut, we need to make a port wine syrup to go over the top. So for that, I need half a cup of port. And you can use either tawny or ruby port, doesn't really matter for this. And a half a cup of sugar. So that's making what we call a simple syrup. And all we need to do at this point is let that come to a boil, and we'll let it simmer for about 1 minute. So now that that's simmered for a minute, we're going to shut that off and just pour that right over those berries. We'll stir those around a bit. Oh, beautiful aroma. And we'll let these sit just a little bit while we fill a couple of crepes. I have a stack of crepes here. This is just a simple standard crepe recipe. And we're going to fill that with some sweetened cream cheese. So I've whipped some cream cheese with just a bit of sugar, a couple of tablespoons. And to that, we want to add just a couple of tablespoons of that liquid from the strawberries. And we'll stir that together. And that's ready to go. So now to fill the crepes, we spread them with a thin layer of our cream cheese. And you can either roll these up in a traditional way, or the way I like to do it is to actually fold them into quarters. I think that makes for a very pretty presentation. So we'll do a few more of these. So now we need to get our strawberries on there. So we'll give those another quick toss. And we'll be very generous with the strawberries. And we'll even put some extra in the middle. And don't forget to get some of that juice around the top too. So there we have it. Cream cheese filled crepes with strawberries and tawny port sauce, because there's nothing better than eating fresh from your garden.
Well, we've got the basics covered. We've anchored all the main points with large rocks. One thing you want to consider, today turned out to be a perfect day to do this project because there isn't any wind. You're going to need more than just a couple extra hands if you're going to try to do this when it's super windy out. It just makes it a little bit more challenging. You also want to consider, after you've put your rocks down, of taking a shovel and just putting the dirt over the plastic and covering up the edges. Because when the wind does begin to blow, you want to be ready for it. It can whip this off. If an end peeks open, it will consider it a kite, and then all your hard work will be for naught. So anchor it with rocks, cover the edges with dirt. Some folks even use heavy lumber to line the edges so that the edges don't fly away. But the most important thing is to not let the wind peek under there and get a hold, because once this starts flapping, then sometimes that can be a challenge to hold it in place. And again, this is designed primarily for early spring or late fall to give you a little extra heat under there if you're wanting to extend your season late, and we're using it in the spring to see if that will help our melon seeds germinate and get a good start. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Thanks so much for joining us. Catherine, thank you for your help today. Appreciate it. I hope you'll tune in next time for Garden Connections.
On Garden Connections, we'd love to see photos of your garden. Or if you have questions for our garden experts, contact us by emailing garden@ksmq.org or like us on Facebook.